I left my career to care for my sick mother. My sister said, "You just had nowhere to go." A week later, I hired a professional caregiver and told family to cover costs. Now my sister takes care of mom herself. I never thought I'd be trading my corner office for my childhood bedroom at 43. But life comes at you fast. Last year, I was crushing it at Henderson & Associates in Chicago. Expense account lunches at Gibson's. My Tesla parked in the reserved spot with my name on it. The whole 9 yards. Then mom's Parkinson's took a nasty turn, and suddenly I'm back in Ohio, sleeping under my high school volleyball trophies. The decision wasn't easy, but it felt right. Mom had always been my rock, the one who showed up to every game, who worked 2 jobs after Dad split. When the doctor said she needed full-time care, I didn't hesitate. I put in my notice, sublet my condo, and packed up my life. My siblings were supportive in that way people are when they're glad someone else is handling the hard stuff. My brother Jake lives in California with his perfect family and has the perfect excuse of distance. My sister Diane lives 15 minutes away, but has such a demanding job at the local bank. They'd call to check in, swing by for an hour on Sundays, then bounce back to their lives while I was helping mom shower, managing her meds, and watching her slowly lose bits of herself. It was harder than I expected. Not just the physical stuff, though lifting mom after a fall when you're running on 3 hours of sleep is no joke, but the emotional toll. Some days she'd look at me with complete clarity and squeeze my hand in silent thanks. Other days, she'd call me by my aunt's name and ask when her mother was coming to visit. I'd given up a 6-figure salary, my social life, and my independence. But I told myself it was temporary, that it was worth it. Mom needed me, and I needed to be there, for her. End of story. Then came the infamous family meeting. Jake flew in for the weekend, his first visit in 6 months. Diane had organized a family discussion about mom's care and finances. We gathered around the dining table while mom napped upstairs. "We need to talk about a long-term plan," Diane said, shuffling papers like she was leading a board meeting. "The money from the house sale won't last forever." I nodded, expecting to discuss how they could contribute more since I was handling the daily care. "Maybe we should consider a nursing home," Jake suggested, not meeting my eyes. "I've looked into it," I replied. "The good ones cost a fortune, and you've seen how mom deteriorates in unfamiliar environments. Remember the hospital stay?" Diane cleared her throat. "Well, it seems like the current arrangement is working. You're here anyway, and it makes sense for you to continue as primary caregiver." I blinked. "I'm here because mom needs care. I left my entire life in Chicago." That's when she dropped the bomb. "Let's be real," Diane said with that condescending smile. "You just had nowhere else to go, so you came back to play the caring daughter. Your company was downsizing anyway, right? The situation worked out for everyone." The room went silent. Jake stared at his hands. My face burned, but I stayed quiet. What was the point? They'd already decided on their version of reality. One where my sacrifice was just convenient timing, where I was practically homeless rather than someone who'd given up everything for family. After they left, I sat on my childhood bed and cried for the first time since moving back. Not delicate tears, but the ugly, snotty kind where you can't catch your breath. Then I got mad. Like throwing old yearbooks across the room mad. And finally, I got even. I spent the next few days researching, made some calls. By the time our next family meeting rolled around, I was ready. Update. Y'all won't believe what went down at that meeting. I walked in with a folder and the most epic revenge plan ever. My siblings thought they had me figured out, just their loser sister with nowhere to go. Should I have spoken up sooner? Maybe. But sometimes actions speak louder than words, and I was about to drop the mic on their entitled assumptions. "What would you have done in my shoes?" "I've made a decision," I announced as soon as we sat down. I slid the folder across the table. "I'm returning to work. I've been offered a position at our Cleveland office starting next month." Diane's eyebrows shot up. "But what about mom?" "I've hired a professional caregiver. Her name is Elena. She has 15 years of experience with Parkinson's patients, and she starts Monday." I smiled sweetly. "I've outlined her salary and benefits in that folder. You'll be covering the costs." Jake choked on his coffee. "What?" "Well, as Diane pointed out, I was just playing the caring daughter. Now it's your turn. I've calculated each of your contributions based on income. Jake, you'll be handling 60% since you make more, and Diane will cover 40%. Diane's face turned the color of the cranberry wallpaper behind her. That's ridiculous. We can't afford this." Funny, neither could I afford to leave my career, but I did it anyway because mom needed someone. If you can't afford Elena, I guess one of you will have to step up. After all, I was just here because I had nowhere else to go, right? I stood up, grabbed my purse, and headed for the door. "Elena will be here Monday at 8 a.m. If no one shows up to let her in, I'll have to call Adult Protective Services about an abandoned elderly person. Your choice." The text started within the hour. Jake said I was being emotional. Diane called me selfish. Cousins and aunts who hadn't bothered to visit once since I'd been back suddenly had opinions about family duty. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I drove to the lake, parked at our old spot where mom used to take us for picnics, and watched the sunset. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Monday morning, I put on my power suit, still fit like a glove, thank goodness, and got ready for my first day back in an office. I'd arranged to work remotely until the Cleveland transfer was final. Before leaving, I checked on mom. "You look pretty," she said, one of her good days. "Like you used to when you'd visit from the city." I kissed her forehead. "I'm going to work, Mom. Someone special is coming to help you today." When I came downstairs, Diane was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her pajamas. "What are you doing here?" I asked. I called in sick. She wouldn't meet my eyes. After calculating what a full-time caregiver would cost, I decided to take family leave. The bank offers it, and I never used it before. I set down my briefcase. "What about Elena?" I called and canceled. "I'll be taking care of Mom." She finally looked up. "It's only fair I take a turn. I'll be honest. Part of me was skeptical. Diane had never changed a diaper in her life, not even for her own kids. Her husband handled that. But the other part was just relieved that Mom wouldn't be alone. Her meds are on the counter, labeled by time. She needs the blue pill crushed and mixed with applesauce, or she won't take it. The physical therapist comes Wednesday and Friday at 11. Diane nodded, taking notes on her phone like this was another work assignment. "Call me if anything happens, anything at all." The first week was rough. Diane called me 5 times a day with questions. "Why won't Mom eat? How do I get her in and out of the shower? What do you mean she can't have grapefruit with her medication?" I talked her through each crisis while trying to reestablish myself. Professionally, the second week was better, fewer calls, more confidence in her voice. By the third week, she'd rearranged the house to make things easier for Mom and had joined an online support group for caregivers. I settled into my new routine: work during the day, dinner with Mom and Diane in the evening, helping with the nighttime routine before heading to my apartment in Cleveland. I'd found a cute place downtown, walking distance to the office. It wasn't Chicago, but it was mine. Then came the night that changed everything between us. Update. Sitting in my new Cleveland apartment, surrounded by moving boxes, when my phone lit up with Diane's name. A month of caring for Mom had changed her, but was it enough? I'm about to tell y'all about the night that broke down 20 years of sisterly competition. Have you ever had someone admit they were completely wrong about you? I mean truly wrong. Not just saying sorry to smooth things. Over, I'd stopped by to drop off Mom's new prescription. Found Diane at the kitchen table sobbing into a glass of barefoot pink Moscato. Mom was already asleep upstairs. "What happened?" I rushed over, assuming the worst. "She didn't recognize me today," Diane whispered. "She kept asking for you. Said she wanted her daughter." I sat down across from her, not sure what to say. This happened to me all the time, but it was Diane's first experience with it. Then she got so frustrated trying to button her cardigan that she threw it across the room. And when I tried to help, she pushed me away. Diane took a shaky breath. "How did you do this every day for 6 months without losing your mind?" I poured myself a glass of that cheap wine. "Some days I did lose it. You just didn't see those parts." She stared at me for a long moment. I didn't realize how hard it was, any of it. The physical stuff, sure, but the emotional toll. She shook her head. "I didn't get it. And I said those horrible things to you." "Yep, you did. I didn't mean—" "You did mean it," I cut her off. "That's the thing, Di. You really believed I came back because I had nowhere else to go. That's what you thought of me." She didn't deny it, just looked down at her wine glass. "I was jealous." "Of what? Living in our childhood home, watching Wheel of Fortune every night, and cleaning up accidents? Of how much she loves you, of how easy it's always been for you. The golden child who moved to the big city and made it, while I stayed here, did everything right, and got this." She gestured vaguely around the kitchen. I nearly choked on my wine. "Easy for me? Are you kidding? Do you know how hard I worked to get out of this town? How many all-nighters I pulled to get through business school while waiting tables? Nothing was handed to me. But you always made it look effortless, like everything just fell into your lap." We stared at each other across the table. 20 years of misunderstandings stretched between us. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "I didn't realize how hard it was, any of it. Your career, leaving it all behind, taking care of Mom. I was wrong. I could have held on to my anger. Part of me wanted to. But sitting there in our Mom's kitchen with her upstairs slowly slipping away from both of us, it seemed pointless. We both made assumptions," I admitted. "I thought you didn't care enough to help. Maybe you just didn't know how." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I don't know if I can do this alone." "You don't have to. We'll figure it out together." The next morning, I called my boss and negotiated a hybrid schedule. 3 days in the office, 2 working remotely from Mom's house so I could spell Diane. Jake agreed to fly in 1 weekend a month and cover the cost of a weekend caregiver, twice a month so Diane could have breaks. A month later, Diane called me on my drive home from the office. "I just wanted to say it again," she said without preamble. "I didn't realize how hard it was, what you did for Mom, for all of us. I get it now." I smiled as I merged onto the highway in my new to me Jeep. Not quite a Tesla, but it felt right for this chapter of my life. "Now you do," I replied, feeling lighter than I had in months. I'd gone back to my high-paying job, sure, but I'd left Diane with new responsibilities and a new understanding of what it means to show up for family. The truth is, I didn't come home because I had nowhere else to go. I came home because it was exactly where I needed to be. Not permanently, but for long enough to remember what matters. And strangely enough, it took leaving again, and watching my sister struggle with the same challenges, for both of us to see that clearly. Mom still has good days and bad. Diane still gets overwhelmed sometimes. I still miss parts of my old life. But now when I visit on my work-from-home days and find them doing puzzles at the kitchen table, or watch Diane patiently helping Mom with her exercises, I know we're finally in this together. Last week, I walked in to find them looking through old photo albums. Mom was having one of her good days. "There's my other girl," she said when she saw me. "Come look at these pictures of you two as kids." We sat on either side of her, these 2 very different daughters of hers, and listened as she told stories we'd heard 100 times before. Diane caught my eye across Mom's silver head and mouthed, "Thank you." Not for the big sacrifice or the dramatic moment, but for the quiet understanding we'd finally found. Update. Real talk, fam. The other day, Mom called me by my name right away and squeezed my hand. "My girls are taking care of me," she said with that smile that still lights up her eyes. Diane and I exchanged looks across the room, no words needed. We're not perfect. Last week we argued over which meds Mom should take when, but we're figuring it out together. Has a family crisis ever brought you closer to someone you thought you'd never understand? Because let me tell you, sometimes the hardest roads lead to the best views. I never set out to teach my sister a lesson. I just wanted her to acknowledge what I'd given up. But sometimes understanding only comes through experience. Now when she mentions being tired after a long day, with Mom I don't say "I told you so." I just bring over Chinese takeout and give her a break. The other night, we sat on the porch swing like we used to as teenagers, 2 women in our 40s drinking White Claws and watching fireflies. "Remember when you said I came back because I had nowhere to go?" I asked. She winced. "Not my finest moment." "Thing is, you were partly right. I didn't have anywhere else I needed to be more than here. I just didn't realize it until I left again." She clinked her can against mine. "To know where to go. And everywhere to be," I finished. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who understand you the least. And sometimes, if you're lucky, they get a chance to see you clearly. My sister finally sees me, not as the golden child, or the martyr, or the big city success, but as someone who made the same choice she eventually made to show up, to sacrifice, to care for the woman who cared for us. That's worth more than any corner office.